the friend that is standing there. I'll be the hand holding all your cares. I see you now, I'm not going anywhere. We'll find our way back home. We'll find our way back home. No, we'll never have to walk alone. We'll find our way back home.
I'm getting out of my comfort zone to learn what I can about cooking and baking from some of the most trusted people in our lives, grandmas. What warms my heart is hearing their stories of why the recipes are the family's favorites and tasting them, of course. Joanne joins me in the kitchen to bring her recipe of homemade old-fashioned baked beans to life. She learned the family recipe from her mom and sisters while growing up in the Canadian Maritimes. She's excited to pass it on to her 2 grown children and 5 grandchildren. This recipe is one worth passing on to the next generation, and I can't wait for you to meet her. So excited for you to be back here with us in Grandma's Goodies with Jacqueline. And I have a really special guest today. Her name is Joanne Giesbrecht. Thank you for joining me today.
I am so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm so excited because, I'm not a great chef. I would never say I'm a chef. I'm a little bit of a baker, but I'm not even a great baker. But what I'm excited about is you're going to teach us about baked beans.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the old-fashioned baked beans that we're going to learn.
So this is a recipe that actually came to me from my mother-in-law, but I have had baked beans throughout my entire life. And so it has been through my mom and my mother-in-law, to me, to my children, and now my grandchildren.
Wow. Okay, so there must be something really good about the beans then, if it's gone through this multi-generational line, right?
Yes. So beans are a really good source of protein.
Right.
And as the food costs are skyrocketing, beans actually have stayed very reasonable for cost.
Okay.
So you can feed your family and have food that is dense enough to fill them.
Okay.
And it can be the star of your meal, or it can be a side to your meal.
Ooh, I love that. So what are we going to do today? So we're going to do the old-fashioned baked beans. Is this going to be the star of the meal?
For today it is.
Okay, awesome. I love that. I love that.
Yes.
Okay, so let's dive in, because beans aren't just, there isn't just one way to do beans, right?
So what you want to do is you want to take your dry beans, and today I've brought some black-eyed peas, which are actually beans.
Okay.
And you can use any bean in this recipe, basically. And when you show your people the recipe, then they will see that there's all kinds of beans you can use.
Awesome.
And they each taste a little different.
Okay.
So you need to prepare the beans for the recipe, which means they have to go from a dry state to a cooked state.
Okay.
So what we can do, you can do it the old-fashioned way or the modern way. So the old-fashioned way is you would take your dry beans and put them into any pot that you had.
Okay.
You would fill it with a ratio of 1 cup of beans to 4 cups of water.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then you just put your pot aside and let it soak overnight for 8 hours or so.
Okay.
So while you're sleeping, the beans are soaking in the liquid and getting prepared to cook.
Okay.
In the morning, you would bring them to a boil and cook them for about an hour and a half until they're tender.
Okay.
So that's the traditional way. There's also a quick method where you don't have to soak them overnight. And that is where you would put them in water, bring them to a boil, cook them for 2 minutes, and then let them sit for an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
And that'll give you the same result as if they had soaked overnight?
Correct.
Well, why wouldn't we do that?
Some people prefer to have to actually let it soak overnight. They maybe don't have time to do it right away. I'm not sure why you do it.
I'm like, the quicker, the faster, the better for me.
However, that's the old-fashioned way. And the way that I now do it is in a pressure cooker.
Okay, so like an Instapot type?
An Instapot. And so if you have an Instapot, you put your dry beans in,
Okay.
And you fill it with water to 2 to 3 inches above the level of the dry beans.
Oh, okay.
And then you use your bean button.
Okay, that's amazing that there's actually a bean button.
There is a bean button on almost everyone I've seen.
That's amazing.
It is. If you don't have a bean button, you can just cook them on high pressure for 45 minutes.
Okay.
And that eliminates having to soak them like you used to have to. But if you don't have an Instapot, there's no reason to not cook beans because you can do it 2 other ways.
Okay, so that's really great. So it doesn't matter where you are with, just money,
No.
right? With your family or the size of
Exactly.
family, like it just doesn't matter.
Does not matter. You can do this and you can do it very economically.
Great.
So when you have finished doing the soaking and the cooking, this is what the beans look like.
Okay, yeah, let's take a look. Okay, these do not look like baked beans yet.
They are not. So a baked bean recipe is actually in 2 stages.
Okay.
You take the dry beans and cook them until they look like this.
Yeah.
And then we're going to add all these wonderful ingredients to create the flavor of an actual old-fashioned baked bean.
Oh, I'm so excited. So I am pretty amazed because this goes to this, and then we're going to go to the actual brown bean that we're all used to seeing.
Yes,
Yeah, that's exciting. Now, we have the scale.
we do. So in the recipe, it was in cups
Okay.
and tablespoons, teaspoons. But if you don't cook with this and you cook with metric, then you need a scale, a kitchen scale, in order to weigh the beans and the amount of spice that you need, that type of thing.
Okay, because there are actually, a few years ago, it was mostly like cups and teaspoons and tablespoons, but now it's actually kind of a mixture.
It is.
People using the metric system and the non-metric
Yes.
system.
So I've included both in this recipe.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry if you don't understand cups and liters.
Awesome.
Liters and quarts.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that's great. So we'll make sure and put that at the end of the episode so that you can have both recipes.
Yes. Okay, so let's get started.
Okay, great. Let's do it.
So in this pot of prepared beans, they've been cooked, they're soft. What we're going to do is we're going to add all of these yummy ingredients. So the first thing is 1/2 to 1 cup of dark molasses. You want to make sure it's unsulfured.
Okay, and why would that be?
Just because sulfured is more bitter.
Okay.
You don't want a bitter taste, you want a sweet taste.
Oh, okay. Very important.
I grew up in the Maritimes and we had a ton of stuff that was made with molasses.
Okay. And so I see that is not measured at all.
Yeah, I kind of thought of that after I started pouring.
I love it because obviously you know what you're doing. I would be measuring it.
Yes.
But
So-
you definitely know exactly. You can just eyeball it, right? And
do.
that is like the fun part about being a grandma is that you just eyeball stuff because you know exactly what works for your family.
You've been doing it for so many years.
right.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would suggest, because molasses is strong, to start with 1/2 cup.
Okay.
And then once you've got everything else in, taste it and see if you can taste the sweetness and the depth of the molasses. And if you can't, then just increase it little by little
Okay.
to what you want. Okay, and the next thing is we're going to do 1/4 to 1/2 cup of ketchup. Now this is optional. You don't have to do ketchup, but again, it adds a lot of flavor.
Okay.
So we're going to do 1/2 cup approximately.
Okay. Sounds great.
So we'll
Now,
say that's...
like the ketchup that gives it the flavor obviously is the tomatoes, but there's a lot of sugar, so that adds to the sweetness of it,
does.
right?
So you've got the molasses, you've got the sugar in this ketchup, and we're also going to be adding another sweetener.
Oh my goodness, I can hardly wait. This is going to be so sweet.
And I like to add tomato paste. That's also optional. There's so many ways you can prepare this to your taste.
Okay.
But I like to add tomato paste as well. And I've suggested 1 can, 156 milliliter can.
Oh, okay.
Which is what this is. Again, you can add to your taste. Doesn't matter how much or how little, or you can eliminate it altogether.
And what does the tomato paste do for it? Because you've already put ketchup in. So what's the tomato paste? What does it do for the base of it?
So the tomato paste is from aroma tomato, which is a lot thicker.
Okay.
Your ketchup is quite runny.
Yes.
And your tomato paste is going to help to thicken it.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Just so our viewers know that.
And then we want a teaspoon of dry mustard. Now, again, if you don't have dry mustard, don't panic. This is a half teaspoon, so I'm going to put 2 in. Because you can use prepared mustard that you have in your fridge. It doesn't matter. It might change the taste a little bit, but not enough for you to notice.
Okay. And you're not really going to taste the mustard.
No.
Yeah.
It just adds to the flavor of the entire thing.
Okay.
Salt and pepper, I've combined them. So we're just going to pop that in. I measured that before. 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 of or a quarter of pepper.
I know you can't smell this, but it's amazing, the smell already.
Garlic powder, we're going to put in 1 teaspoon. And I also am going to put onion powder in. I'm going to say to you that when you have garlic and garlic powder, onion and onion powder, ketchup, and I'm going to put in ketchup powder, what you're doing is you are increasing the depth of flavor of each of those elements. So if you have onion, which we do, a small onion chopped in this, you are going to want to have the onion powder because it brings up the flavor.
Okay.
Okay. And we have garlic. I used 1 clove of garlic. If you love garlic, you can put more in. If you don't like garlic, you can put less or none.
Okay.
Up to you.
I'm still kind of stuck on there's ketchup powder. I'm like, what? It's like, that's amazing to me.
So I make my own ketchup powder. So when I can tomatoes, you take the skins off, right? But I don't throw them away. I put them in the dehydrator and then I grind them up. And you have
there's a little tip for you. Save the skins of the tomato, dehydrate them, and then grind them up, and you have your own powder. Wow, that's amazing.
I know, isn't it wonderful?
Yeah, it's great because then there's no waste.
That's my goal in life, is to try and have 0 waste, to use everything, because everything is becoming so precious right now. When you pay good money for tomatoes, you want to use all of it. You don't want anything to be thrown out or spoil.
Yeah, it's true. You know, that we're good stewards with the resources that we've been given.
Exactly. And this is paprika.
Okay.
So in goes the paprika. And then I promised you another sweetener.
Yes.
And that's maple syrup.
I love maple syrup. I don't know about you, but do you love maple syrup?
I do.
I love maple syrup.
So this is going to go in as our final ingredient.
Okay.
And you, again, use as much or as little as you want.
Okay.
So now we have all of the ingredients that we're going to add, and we're going to stir it up, and it will look like the baked beans that you are used to seeing in color.
Okay, the smell, you can't smell this, but I'm going to guarantee it smells amazing.
And as you can see, we no longer have white beans.
No.
But now they look like the traditional.
Okay, that is just amazing that they've gone from this to that.
So now what we want to do is we want to make sure to cook this so that all the flavors amalgamate.
Okay.
And so that there's that depth of flavor and richness that you're used to. I was just going
to say the richness, right?
Yes.
That's what we're looking for.
Yes.
Because I was going to ask you, we couldn't take a bite now.
We wouldn't want to because there's raw garlic and raw onion. We could if we liked raw onion and garlic, but you will actually, maybe you should have a taste now and then after it's been cooked.
I totally want to do that. Yeah, I totally want to taste this. I'm a little impatient, so I mean, we can wait for it to cook, but I kind of want to taste what it's like. I mean, in a pinch, like you could serve it, but it's not. No. It's not great.
No,
like this.
Not until it has cooked in the second stage. Now, if you're cooking it, this is the insert to a slow cooker.
Okay.
And if you're cooking it in a slow cooker, you're going to want to cook it on high for about 4 hours.
Okay.
And if it's on low, it'd be around 6 hours.
Okay.
And then give it a taste, adjust your seasonings, And if you think it's done, if it meets your satisfaction, then you're ready to go.
Okay.
You don't have to cook it in a slow cooker if you don't have a slow cooker.
Okay.
You put it into the pot that you're going to have it in, and you can cook it in your oven.
Ooh. Now,
So
which do you prefer?
I prefer this because then I can go about doing other things in the kitchen.
Okay.
I can live my life and know that they're still being cooked and they'll be ready for dinner.
So why couldn't you do the same thing if it's in the oven? Like, do you just feel like you need to just watch it a little bit more,
You
or you
do.
need to be home? Or...
Yes. So you need to watch the temperature, and if your oven reads 375 or 350, but it's actually 400, that will affect the liquid that's in your beans. It could dry out, and then you could have a disaster, which I have had.
Okay, speaking from experience.
Yes.
She's speaking from experience, not me, but her.
So I've put in the recipe to check every once in a while on the liquid level. And if you need to, you add water.
Okay, because I was actually, a little while back, I was looking at the liquid thinking, does all that evaporate or?
No, it won't, but you cook it at a very low heat if it's in your oven.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 275 to 300.
Oh, that is much lower than I thought.
And it's a lot longer too.
And so in the oven, it's 275 for...
6 to 8 hours.
Oh, okay. So I totally understand why you would want this in the slow cooker, if you have a slow cooker. If
do.
not, then...
Still no excuse to not make old-fashioned beans.
I love it. I love that. I love that we have the option to have both. We don't need all the current appliances, because there are some people that just can't afford them right now.
Exactly. So this makes it easy for everyone, and it's very affordable for everyone.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So what I've done for us today is I've actually cooked the beans in the oven in an old-fashioned bean pot.
Oh.
So if you want to take them out of the oven.
Yes, absolutely I do. Because I'm excited. Let's do that though. Oh, you weren't kidding. So this is a heavy pot.
It's a very heavy pot.
It's a little deceiving on how heavy it is. But this is an original pot, you said.
Yes. So this was the traditional pot that I was taught to cook the beans in. The pot, I believe, was made in Medicine Hat.
Wow.
So this is what, after cooking for 4 to 8 hours, it looks like.
Oh, that looks so good, Joanne.
Yes.
Oh, I can hardly wait.
So I brought a couple of pieces of sourdough bread, which
so good.
also can be homemade very easily. And I'm just going to add some beans and we'll have a taste.
Oh, I can hardly wait. Now, during COVID, there was this huge, massive movement of making sourdough bread at home, wasn't there?
Yes, there was.
I even tried it and got it down to a science and my science, and did like 4 loaves at a time.
Wow.
I know.
That's impressive.
If only you knew my background, it's really impressive. Okay, so
Cheers.
Cheers. I can't believe I already spilled. Oh, tastes so much better than the raw stuff.
Doesn't it?
Oh, that is so good. So it really does taste like it's a meal. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't have to be a side dish at all. Like I could totally see how this is a meal in itself.
So if you want it to be a meal, you can have it with cornbread, with biscuits, homemade bread. You can toast your bread and have beans on toast. You can have grilled cheese sandwiches with the beans on the side. There's so many ways to have this. You can have a baked potato and have this as your filling on the baked potato.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's
I would
great.
never have thought of the baked potato.
Because then you have your protein with your vegetable.
Yeah, I love that. The thing that's going through my mind actually is you said you were from the Maritimes.
Yes.
And I feel like some of those suggestions you gave us just now are from the Maritimes. Is it like specifically from that area?
I don't know for sure. I only know that in my childhood, Saturday night was beans and. So
Really?
beans and wieners, or beans and brown bread, because brown bread, a certain recipe, is definitely from the Maritimes.
Wow.
Yeah, or a sandwich and beans. So we had a lot of beans when I was growing up. I didn't know how to make them until after I got married.
Okay.
And my mother-in-law gave me this cookbook, More with Less cookbook.
Okay.
And in here, of course, you can see it's been used, right? This is the
Yes,
cover.
I know.
So it has basic baked beans.
Okay.
And this is what I used as my base, and I added a few things to it. And that's the recipe I use today.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then when my son got married, I did this little cookbook for his wife. And I tried and true just for you.
Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea for all those moms out there that have their children, their sons specifically, that are leaving the nest with their wife.
And so all of the favorites that he grew up with, I put in here, and you can see baked beans is
Yes,
right there.
I see it. I love that. That's such a great idea.
And it was special, and she uses that.
I bet she does.
And so does my son.
Well, you know, that's a really great way for us to talk about what brought you to Okotoks, because you're in the Maritimes, you've come right across Canada. So how did you end up in Okotoks?
Not a very long story, but I could make it longer if you wish.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I was 17, I graduated from high school, and my whole family moved out to Calgary.
Okay.
I lived in Calgary, got married here, and then about almost 10 years ago, my husband and I moved to Vancouver Island.
Oh,
And we lived there for 7 years.
okay.
And then COVID hit.
Oh, yes.
So we were coming back to visit my son and his family frequently. They were actually in High River.
Okay.
They bought a lot here and built a home here, and we helped them to move, etc. But when COVID hit, we just thought, you know, quality of life is one thing that you sort of have in your mind what you think quality of life is. But when something like that comes, you reprioritize, you reassess.
It's
And we
true.
thought, you know what, we want to be close to family.
Isn't it something?
Family is the most important thing.
And you are so close to family. You are how far are you from your son?
We bought the lot next door.
You're like 2 meters away from
Yes,
each other.
yes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
think that is wonderful. And they welcomed that, didn't they?
They did. We actually lived with them while our house was being built. They asked us to.
Isn't that
And they're the ones that talked us into buying the lot next door.
really?
So as much as we love them, that's reciprocal. And it is such an incredible feeling to have a family that loves you like that.
No kidding. So Joanne, tell me, why is it important to pass this recipe down? It's important to you, but why is it important to pass it on?
I think that my grandchildren need to know there are things that are worth preserving in life. That through the centuries, women have cared for their families, their children, their grandchildren, by providing good food for them, by serving them in the kitchen, cooking, doing things for them. And when I make a special meal, and I tell my kids that it's a special meal because I'm making it for them, my mother made it for me, my grandmother made it for my mother,
Wow, isn't
then
that
it
something?
creates a chain of telling them what's important. Family, serving one another, being together around things like food. And then traditions are created and passed along so that it creates a memory for them. And when they smell a certain smell, that memory will come back. I want my kids to know that I love them deeply, unconditionally. I want them to remember times around the family table where there's baked beans and we're all laughing and having fun. I want those memories to be really special.
Yeah, I think that is so important. And Joanne, you've really touched on so many things why this show is really important for me to do. It's about the preservation of the next generation.
Yeah.
And food, so much happens around food.
Yes.
It really, you know, that table or the kitchen, and we've heard so many times, I mean, I have over my years, you know, the kitchen is the hub of the home. And it really is. It's because food does something for us inside.
When we share it together, sharing of yourself, of your gifts, that creates something special, a bond that is very special.
I love it. I love it, Joanne. Thank you so much for sharing your treasured baked bean recipe with us. I love it. I'm going to try it for my family because I think that's going to be awesome. I think they're going to just really be blown away, A, that I made it, and B, just how great it is.
That's good.
So thank you so much for joining us
You're
today.
so welcome.
Okay, so one thing that I really loved about this recipe with Joanne was that I got to make fresh, homemade, old-fashioned brown beans with her. And I got to eat it too, with bread. So, so good. But you know, the other thing that I really loved about my conversation with Joanne is that we talked about tradition. And we talked about her heritage and coming from the Maritimes, and she wanted to bring all that tradition of the love of food, especially around the baked beans. She wanted to bring that to her children and to her grandchildren. And you know, that was really inspiring to me and really challenged me to want to do that for my family coming up and my grandchildren too. So thanks for joining me on Grandma's Goodies with Jacqueline.